You're listening to the Kim D Snyder Show, episode number 013. In this episode, you will discover 3 ways to stand out at work, even if you're already a high achiever.
Welcome to the Kim D Snyder Podcast.
Welcome. I'm your host, Kim. This is the show for business leaders, consultants, and project managers to discover strategies that leverage your expertise, mindset, and innovation for more success, joy, and fun. For the show notes, please go to kimdsnyder.com/013. If you're interested in having me work with your leaders in your organization, go to kimdsnyder.com/hire. Let's get this party started. And as a successful person, you have already started partying because you know and have done all the standard tips on how to stand out at work. You've volunteered, you've taken on more work, you've taken on more education, you've asked for more responsibility. Blind spots you may have would be related to balancing those short-term and long-term activities that catapult your career, not having a promotion strategy, and pulling back that control of your own career. This is part 1 of a 3-part series. In this one, we're actually going to cover how to balance that short-term and long-term growth. And the way that comes to us is in the working on versus working in. Have you heard of that phrase, it's working on versus in? Maybe it's best illustrated in this story about an independent consultant. So this may have been you, or you might know somebody. But if you've got an independent consultant, they've got to work on that current project, that current gig until it's done. Well, as that gig starts to come to end, they have to hurry and find the next place to go because they can only work on or in at a time. It's very difficult for them to do both because they've got nothing set in place. This is similar to a career, right? Your career, my career, all of our careers, where our current role is working on that gig and we keep working until it ends. Now, ends may or may not be our choice, and it might be that current role, current division, current department, current company, but when it ends, we need to find a new one. And so what we need to do is set up some things so that we have options when it comes to an end, or we want it to come to an end. And those 2 areas are working on versus working in. So working on is that longer term, that strategy, that wider view, that vision. Like, where do you want to go? Where do you want to take your career? In is that day-to-day, tactical, short-term, very narrow, very focused. You need to do both, right? You need to deliver on a day-to-day, but you also need to make sure that those day-to-days are also moving you forward where you want to go long-term. Well, how do you do that? My recommendation is you take a minimum of 10% of your time, so about 4 to 5 hours a week, and you use that to work on your career, right? So an hour a day roughly. So I've got 2 sample scenarios that may work for you on how you would do that. The first one is maybe take a day of the week and do a specific activity. So maybe every Monday is reading up on a brand new skill or technology or something that totally interests you. On Tuesday, it could be reaching out to your current network. Wednesday, reach out to somebody that you've never met, brand new network. Thursday, attend a professional development association meeting or learn something new in your core area. And then Friday could be, soft skills. Maybe it is soft skill training. That's one example or scenario. The second way you can do it is take a specific week in a month and do those activities. And this just, depends on your personal preference on how you like to do things. So again, taking 1 day or 1 hour every day in that week. So that week, the first week, you might concentrate on learning something totally new, something innovative, whatever you want to. 1 day, 1 hour a day that week. Week 2, again, taking an hour a day would be networking, and this could be a combination of networking with existing people and new people. Week 3 of the month could be, again, building those core skills in professional associations and going deeper in those core areas that you're known for. So if you're a project manager, accountant, IT, marketing, whatever those core areas are, going deeper in those. And then again, week 4 of that month could be learning a new skill, and maybe it's a soft skill. And then you have the week 5 off. So what happens if you don't do this on versus in? What if you don't have this balance? You may have fewer options in your career, but just know that if you don't do it, this is cumulative. So it's not like, you haven't done it for the last 9 months and then you go, holy crap, I should have done this. And then you go, okay, let me have 9 people help me and I'll get it done in a month. It doesn't work that way. And this concept is what I call leadership debt, right? If you don't take care of something, it costs more to fix it and bring it up to speed than it does if you would have done it a little time at all. I talk about this in more detail in one of my current posts, so I'll go ahead and put a link in the show notes for that. Now, the other thing that you may have noticed is that when I alluded to about 10% of your activities or time is 4 to 5 hours a week, yes, I'm saying about 40 hours a week you should be working. And I will put another link into the show notes because that episode will be recorded soon. And by the time you get to this, we'll have a link in there about how I reduced my work hours and I got more done in 40 hours than I did in 50 and 60. Part 2 is going to be covering what we need to be uniquely known for. And part 3 of the series will be how to take control of your career, how to take it back. The action steps for this episode are, number 1 is decide how many hours a week you want to commit to working on your career. And then number 2 is decide on the schedule. So if you like that daily schedule with Monday reading, Tuesday outreach, or week 1, decide on the schedule and act on it. The show notes for this episode can be reached at kimdsnyder.com/013. Thank you for listening to the show. Please leave a review wherever you're listening or watching. It will help the information get out to the others that need it. To inquire or hire me to work with leaders in your organization, please go to kimdsnyder.com/hire. See you in the next episode.